everybody, and welcome to our College Process Parent Evening Program. I'm just going to give everybody a couple more minutes, and then we will get started. Okay, we are going to get started now, and people can join as they come along. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Michelle Walsh, one of the school counselors here, and I'm joined tonight by a few of our counselors as panelists. We have Miss Antonella Ficini, Miss Brooke Parrott, and Miss Megan Errico joining us to help answer some of the questions and things like that. Tonight is really just kind of the nuts and bolts of how your students' college applications and supporting documents get from West Windsor to their colleges. There's a very specific process, a very much specific way to do things so that it all gets there by the deadline and so forth. Most of what I talk about tonight is actually going to be your child's responsibilities and what they're going to be doing. But we always find it super helpful to share this with parents as well, so you're at least can sort of speak the same language as we are and understand some of the requirements so that you can better support your child as they're going through this entire process. So that's kind of why we include you tonight. Tomorrow during lunch, we've warned them many, many times, we are going to have a senior meeting, and we're going to cover a lot of their individual questions. They will meet just with their counselor in a much smaller setting than tonight, and we will answer a lot of their questions related to what we go over tonight and related to the process of, again, getting your applications from West Windsor to the college. So I'll say it 100 times probably, but remind your child that they're going to stay in for lunch tomorrow. They should pack a lunch and come to the assigned room, which we'll talk about a little later. Having said all that, I'm happy to see so many of you here, and please know we make this process fun. It's not meant to be stressful, and we're here to support you, and this is sort of our opening game here, and then we'll get started. So a few housekeeping things before we get going. Students, if you haven't, you should join our Google Classroom for the class of 2025. Lots of really valuable information. We've been posting things in Google Classroom for 4 years now, but this particular year is probably the most posts you'll receive than all the other years put together. So if you're not part of the High School South Counseling 2025, please join that. Another thing is, if you've never checked email before, which so many of you don't do it on a regular basis, this is the year to check your email regularly. We communicate a lot through email. We send out a lot of information. Hopefully you guys all received my first Wednesday Wisdom yesterday. The fact that you're here, I'm a little bit preaching to the choir probably, but just make sure you check your email regularly. Connect with Naviance often. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what Naviance is and the ins and outs of it today. Tomorrow, we're really going to go to the ins and outs of it, because in our smaller group sessions, we'll actually bring up Naviance and literally walk the steps with your child. Tonight's more of just an overall introduction for the parents and child to see sort of what we're using Naviance for in this part of the process. The FAFSA, I'm not really going to talk about the FAFSA, but I did want to mention that you may have heard on the news or read things about how the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid, is now required as a graduation requirement. Everybody needs to complete it. You'll either need to complete the FAFSA or complete a waiver form. So I'm going to tell you that stay tuned for that. I just wanted to mention that because you may have heard about it and you may be wondering, did we hear about it and how we're doing it and what that looks like? And we are working through what that looks like, and we will be back in touch with you regarding that. But we're very well aware that all New Jersey high schoolers have to either complete the FAFSA or complete a waiver prior to graduation. Q&A for tonight. So I have, as I said, I'm joined by counselors. Miss Chrissy Javik just joined us as well. And so the Q&A is open. As I go through slides, first of all, hopefully I'm going to cover a lot of things. So if you're just patient and listen, I think probably you'll get a lot of your questions answered. But if I'm going over something and you still have some questions, you can type them into the Q&A and the counselors will attempt to answer them. If they notice that there's some really common questions that, you know, the same question over and over, maybe I didn't cover something clear enough or something, we will answer that live at the end and they'll let me know, can you talk more about teacher recommendations or something like that? And I will cover it for the good of the group at the end of the presentation tonight. Okay, enough about housekeeping now. A couple upcoming events. I guess this still falls under housekeeping a little bit. A lot of things are happening at the beginning of this year. First of all, and I sent an email about this, starting September 16th, which is Monday, every day there will be admission representatives coming to our school during lunch to talk to students about their school, to answer questions about the application and the application process and so forth. There's a full schedule in Naviance, which we'll show the students tomorrow. You can see it as well. If you are interested in a school, or 100%, if you're applying to a school and they're coming to our school for lunch, there probably would be an expectation that you would attend that session with the admission rep. And once again, give up your lunch, bring a lunch, whatever, and go see that admission rep. If you're that interested in Lehigh University and Lehigh University is coming here during lunch and you don't show up, that sends a message that maybe you're not that interested. So just pay attention to that visit schedule. I just took a look before we started and I already noticed so many of you have signed up for visits already. So I think that's fabulous. But just take note of that. We have 2, sometimes 3 admission reps a day between now and like early December. I mentioned the counselor meeting that's happening tomorrow. So we've told the students, you know, many times about this. So hopefully everybody will attend that. And then the other thing, big thing that's coming up related to college is our college fair on October 15th. And that is held at High School North. And we already have, you know, over 120 plus colleges attending that fair, and the registrations keep coming in. So on this slide, you'll see a barcode where you can register for the fair. You're not really registering for the fair, you're registering for Strive Fair, which allows you, when you go to the fair, if you visit a particular school and they want to scan your barcode so that you can, you know, they remember that you were there, or they can send you additional information or something like that, then that's kind of how you utilize the fair. And we'll explain that more to the students, but it is on here. We're going to have the barcode posted all over school. So just kind of save the date, October 15th from 6 to 8 p.m. College Fair at High School North. Okay, so how does this process work and what do we do? We've already gotten lots of questions from some kids, some eager students who kind of wanted to start this whole thing. So we said we're going to answer all your questions tonight and tomorrow. So there's a lot of pieces that have to get to the college, and there's a variety of people that take care of those different pieces. So the school counselor has a piece to complete. The student obviously has pieces to complete. Teachers have pieces to complete. And parents, we just ask for your support in managing the deadlines and navigating the process. Hence, wanted to sort of show you the process today, which might help you manage it with your child. So the thing is that everyone's kind of working at the same time. So the school counselor will be working on the recommendation letter. They'll be doing the transcript. There's a secondary school report and school profile. Those are all the pieces that have to get to the schools from the school counselor. The student, who's the manager of this process, by the way, has to contact teachers for recommendations. They have to complete their counselor recommendation packet. Hopefully they did that already. It was due April 1 of last year. But many of you I know have pieces missing, and we're going to address that tomorrow as well. They have to request a transcript in Naviance. They have to decide whether they're submitting or not submitting their test scores. And then if they're submitting, they have to do that. And then they obviously have to submit their full application along with their essay. Okay. The teacher is in charge of the recommendation letter that has to go for the students to the colleges. And so you got many people working for you, but and I'm going to explain what I mean by working at the same time as we talk about deadlines. So as you students, as you are working hard on your applications, you're going to learn tomorrow that you need to let your teacher know, hey, I have some deadlines, November 1st, here's the college I'm applying to. You need to let your counselor know, hey, I have some deadlines. So while you're working on your application, working on your essay and doing those kind of things, your teacher's starting to write her recommendation, your school counselor's starting to write their recommendation, pulling your transcript together, completing the secondary school report, and then all of your pieces get to the college by the deadline. The counselor's piece, the teacher's piece, and the student's piece do not necessarily arrive on the exact same day. They just all arrive prior to the deadline, as long as the student, the manager of this process, communicates to everybody, hey, let's get working. Teacher, you start writing. School counselor, you start doing your piece, and I'm doing my piece. What we don't want to happen is the student to work vigorously at home, get everything done, and come in the day before the deadline and like, Miss Walsh, everything's done. I pressed submit last night. Can you get my recommendation there by tomorrow? That's not how it works. So that's what I'm talking about by working at the same time, giving everybody time to do their pieces. Okay, and I'll keep going back to this idea as we go through this presentation. So your first steps, really, and some of you have done this already, but is to start to finalize your list of schools where you want to apply. We worked a lot on that in junior year. We worked a lot on developing the list in junior year. And then over the summer and now throughout the fall, you'll be finalizing that list of schools. You're going to decide on an application type. But most of the time, it's not really your decision. It's just what the school requires. Common application is going to be the most common, not to repeat that word. If your school uses the common application, you must use the common application. That's the only way. We're considered a Naviance school. That's the only way we can send your documents electronic. If it's a Common App school, you have to use the Common App. You might come across an application called the Coalition. That's gotten a lot less popular or less used in the last couple of years. And then you have electronic applications, which are college-specific applications. They're colleges that don't use the Common App, but they do have an electronic application, because just about everyone has an electronic application now. And so an example of that is Georgetown. Georgetown doesn't use the Common App. Georgetown has their own application. And they don't submit their stuff through Naviance. They have a whole separate process. MIT is another example of that. So there'll be some examples like that, and we're going to show you tomorrow when you're in Naviance how you know whether your school is a common application, an electronic application, and so forth. And again, like I said, if the college is a common application, you must use it. Failure to do so will make it impossible for us to send your things electronically. You might come across some schools that say, hey, but if you use our VIP application, you get a fee waiver and you don't have to pay. Drexel's known to do that. There's a bunch of other schools that have what they call VIP application. So don't use that, but you can still use the Common App and you can still get the fee waiver, but you can't use the VIP application. The reason why is that not every school is as fortunate as we are to, pay for the price of Naviance. And so other schools sometimes submit their documents differently. But when you're a Naviance school, there's certain things that you kind of have to abide by in order for your application and your documents to sort of mesh together once it gets to the college. And now I'm just going to go through a few things with the Common Application, not the whole Common Application, but some pieces of the Common Application that sometimes kids get tripped up on or have some questions. And so the first part is the educational information. So the snippet on the slide is, if you look at the top, there's kind of tabs across the top of each page of the Common Application. And we're on the third tab called the Common App, and we're on the educational piece. So you're going to select High School South. You're going to give our class size, which is 399. Just know that we do not report class rank. So if there's a question related to that, we don't have class rank here in West Windsor. And then there's a question that says, do you wish to report any honors related to your academic achievements? Kids always wonder what that is. Okay, we don't have honor roll here. Some schools have an honor roll, and so they could put honor roll, but we don't really have that. So an honor could be you're a National Honor Society, you're a National Merit semifinalist. It could be you have some honor related to an academic subject. It could just be just about anything that maybe you received an award and you won an essay contest, something like that. But there might be, and usually there's a majority of students that are like, hey, I'm like a solid student, but I never really won an award. I'm not in National Honor Society. I don't enter essay contests, but I'm a really good student anyway. It's okay if you don't have any honors. Okay, you have lots of places in the Common App to report some of the other things you do. And remember, you have your transcript and stuff. So remember, this Common App is for the whole world. And so they have to have pieces in here that might apply to a variety of different schools, different settings, things like that. So if you don't have, if you feel like I don't have any honors information to enter there, then by all means, don't feel like that just slammed the door and you might as well not even apply, because it doesn't. It's just an opportunity. If you want to communicate that you won an essay contest or an art contest, or you're in National Honor Society, that would be the place to sort of enter that information. Another piece to in the Common Application is the Furpa Release. So once you have added a college to My Colleges, which we're going to literally show you specifically tomorrow how to do that, it's going to ask you to sign a Furpa Release. A Furpa Release basically asks you to waive your right to review your recommendation letter. And waiving your right is basically saying that you have confidence that your recommenders are going to write nice things about you, that it's very candid, that you really don't have any piece of it, you're not reading it, you're not reviewing it, and it's full transparency. So you really have to waive your right. And so the thing with this piece, which is weird in this day and age, but you can't change it. So if you don't waive your right, you can't go back and waive your right later. I don't know why. It's like undoable. So please pay really close attention to this and make sure that you fill it out right the first time. It asks you to waive, and then it says that you understand that. Once I sign, you save it, and so forth. And then that'll be for all of your colleges. So you just have to do that for one school, and that release, all your colleges on the Common App, that release will apply to all of the colleges. Okay, so that is that piece. Still working through the troubleshooting the Common App. Another thing is they're going to ask you for your admission plan. Are you going early action? Are you going regular decision, early decision, rolling? How are you applying? And remember, you're going to be on the particular college, so it's only going to offer the admission plans that that particular college offers. Okay, so on this example, we're sitting at Bucknell University. We're on the My Colleges tab at the top of the Common Application. We're on Bucknell University, and I could choose early decision 2, or regular decision. Bucknell doesn't have an early action, so I have to choose one of those choices. Our start term is fall 2025. Okay, we're not going in fall 2024. We still have a year left at South. And we're not going in the spring, we're going in the fall 2025. So you would choose one of those. If you choose early decision, you're going to get, if you see that on this snip on my slide here, it's going to ask you to invite a parent. Parents must sign off on early decisions. A couple things about early decision. That's a binding decision. You can only apply early decision to one school in your entire list. And if they accept you, you have to attend no matter what. When I say no matter what, I mean no matter how much money they give you, no matter whether you change your mind in January and you fall in love with a different school. If you apply early decision, ethically, you're telling them, if you accept me, I'm coming. And then your other schools can only be regular decision and or early action. And there's a few schools that have restrictive early action. There's a lot of different things people do as far as admission plans. And so if you're confused about a particular school's admission plans and what that means for you, or how binding is it, or something like that, please always ask before you just choose it. Okay. So that's important. And the biggest thing there is with early decision, you must invite a parent. If you choose early decision and then skip that invite parent part, we won't be able to send our documents, and nor will you. You're going to see invite recommenders. You see that on the top of my snip over there. You are not inviting recommenders through the Common App. Remember, this Common App is for the whole world. If you look under counselor there, it says your school is using Naviance for transcripts, school reports, and so forth. Contact your counselor directly. We do not submit our recommendations through the Common App. We submit them through Naviance, and then it matches up at the college end. And that's the only way we can submit them. So once you invite us in the Common App, things get a little wonky, everybody gets confused, and it's just messy. So there's a few things you remember when you get to this part. Do not ask us to, do not invite us there. You're going to invite teachers and counselors a different way. And it's going to be through Naviance. Okay. Some Naviance basics. Now, those were the obviously that wasn't the entire Common Application, but it's sort of where we find over the past number of years that kids sort of get tripped up in the process. So we like to answer some of those questions. And again, tomorrow we'll be answering probably a lot more questions related to it. And we're literally going to go into Naviance and so forth to show. It's a lot easier when you can actually show it. So Naviance basics, your child and hopefully you might have seen this screen before, because this is something we actually did in 11th grade. Transcript requests cannot be accepted until you've completed the counselor rec packet, which was due April 1, but a lot of people, not a lot of people, but there's some of you that have missing pieces here and there. Some of you have it completely in, and some of you haven't started at all. Everyone's sort of at a different stage with this. And we kind of hounded you in 11th grade to get it done. Then summer happened. So if you still didn't get it done, we can't accept your transcript until those pieces are done. So that would be the counselor rec packet, which is the student and parent surveys, the student input and the parent input. a resume, which is in Naviance, or a resume that you just have, and the Furpa waiver. The Furpa, this is a different Furpa waiver than the Common App. This is a transcript release that has to be signed in the event you have, has to be signed. And we use it for the schools, for example, that might not be on Common App. So the Furpa waiver that you signed on Common Application allows us to release your transcripts and your recommendation letters and so forth to your Common App schools. This FERPA waiver allows us to release to any other Common App school, even any other program, an honors program, something like that that needs additional information, if that is signed. Most of you have signed that because it was one of the Genesis forms this year. And so when you did all your forms in Genesis, many of you signed it already. So we do know who signed it. So if you're requesting transcripts, we will triple check that you signed that. And until those pieces are complete, we're not going to consider your transcript request. Our timeline's not going to start until we have all of your pieces. So you can request a transcript, which puts us on a timeline. We say we give us 3 weeks. But if we look and none of your stuff is in, our 3 weeks doesn't really start until we have everything, because we can't really do anything without your full packet. And tomorrow, many of you, when you meet with your counselors, will probably find out which pieces you might be missing. So then when you request transcripts, this is the fun part, right? Last year, we added colleges to Colleges I'm Thinking About. Many of us did. And if you didn't, then you should get your Colleges and Colleges I'm Thinking About. I've actually already met with a few students this year who said, oh, I have my own spreadsheet. That's all good and well, but that doesn't help your transcript get to the colleges, because it has to be in Naviance, because that's how we operate. So if you have your own little spreadsheet and you haven't done this, you should do it. That any colleges that you think you might be applying to, you put in Colleges I'm Thinking About. So this is what Colleges I'm Thinking About looks like in Naviance. And so as you can see, the University of Alaska Fairbanks has a delivery type of an open computer. That means they have an electronic application, but they don't use the common application. American University has a computer with a CA in it. They use the common application. So this is how you can tell what your schools use and how things are going to be delivered to your school. All right, so you're going to have them in this. And then some students I know started this last year, and we told them this Colleges I'm Thinking About should be gigantic. And then we ebb and flow and we visit and we learn more and we take away and we add and so forth. So now we're at the part where we're actually saying, you know what, I'm not just thinking about these, Miss Walsh, I'm going to apply to these. So now you have to tell us which ones you're going to be applying to. So you're going to click the schools that you want. Okay, I'm definitely going to apply to American, Delaware, and I'm definitely going to apply to Rutgers. I would just click those 3 schools, and then I would choose Move to the Application List. Again, this, we're going to literally do it tomorrow to show you. So the other piece where you have to make sure your colleges are is in your Common App account. So if you move this to your active applications, we see it, but we get a message that, hey, it's not even in their Common App list. So are you kind of sure they're applying there or not? So your schools that are in your Common App have to match the schools that are in your Colleges I'm Applying to. Otherwise, again, we can't send stuff because the stuff's not even in your common application if it's a Common App school. So that's really important. So you're going to pick the schools, and this isn't a one and done deal, by the way. You might know for sure you're applying to 2 schools right now. So after we meet tomorrow and everything's open and ready to go and you've done your counselor rec packet, you might say, you know what, I'm definitely applying to American and Delaware, but I'm not sure about the rest. I still need to visit. I still need to talk to my parents. I still need to think about what I want to do. So then the week later, you say, you know what, I am going to apply to George Washington University, and my parents have given me permission to go to California. So I'm getting UC Berkeley back on that list. Then you can add it. You can do this throughout. You can discover a college on October 15th at the college fair and say, oh my gosh, I definitely want to apply. You go in, you add the school to your list and you apply. It's not like whatever you do today, then you're done and you just move on. This is an ongoing process with several, hopefully, ongoing conversations with your counselor. Okay. Once you do that, you will get a screen like this that says, oh, okay, you're applying to UC Berkeley. How are you applying? And you have to tell Naviance, I'm going regular decision. How will you submit your application? UC Berkeley was not a Common App school, so you had to choose direct to institution. If you went with Dickinson, you'll see Dickinson's another one that we're requesting. We're going to do that via the Common App. And then it asks, are you planning to submit your SAT scores? And you're going to choose an option. And I think it's either yes, no, or I haven't decided yet or something like that. But you'll choose an option. Again, that can be conversations over time with your counselor, your parents, to see what you want to do. And then once you answer these questions, down here, you're not just going to add applications. You have to add and request the transcript, because that's how we get notified, not just that you've added applications. Some of you actually, you weren't allowed to request it wasn't turned on. I had it turned off, the request transcript thing. So you couldn't even do it before today. But some of you added applications, kind of jumping ahead. You're going to have to go back and request those transcripts, because that requesting transcripts wasn't an option at the time. But now it is an option, and obviously it's mandatory, because that's how we know that you want to request transcripts. So you'll fill those things out, and then you'll add and request transcripts. Then a screen will come up and say, oh, okay, great. You want a transcript? What type of transcript are you requesting? And you're requesting an initial transcript right now. Later on, you'll be requesting a mid-year, because they do want most schools want your mid-year transcript. And at some point you'll be requesting a final transcript, but let's not jump there yet, because it's only September. So we just want an initial transcript. What additional materials, if any, do you want included? We do not include test scores, so you can just leave that blank. If you want to send your test scores, you can send them through the College Board or ACT. Some schools, however, will take, you'll see the words here, unofficial SAT scores, like from you, self-reporting or something like that. They may want them if you get in and decide to attend that school. Then you might have to pay the $10 to send them. But before you go and pay $10 for every school that you want to send your transcript or your SAT scores to, or ACT scores, double check what they accept. It might just save you a little bit of money there. And then where it says, where are you sending the transcripts? When you drop down that in real life, it's going to be a list of your schools that you said you wanted to apply to. And you just say, I want to send my transcripts here, here, here. And then you request and finish. What that triggers then is it triggers to us, the counselors, that you've requested a transcript. So I might see, I'll get an email saying, oh, there's been a new request or something. And I would go in and I say, oh, look, Brooke Parrott, who's a counselor, but we'll pretend she's a student, requested a transcript. Let me check. Does Brooke have her packet done? Brooke does have her packet done. Everything is complete. That's great. Okay, I'm going to put her on my pile, because I have 3 weeks to write her letter, do her secondary school report, pull all her things together, and get it to her school for the deadline. And that's kind of how we look at it. So that's sort of triggering your counselor to work and giving us the time that we need. Another piece too, I keep talking about how your Naviance and your Common App account have to kind of merge together at the college level. And in order to do that, you actually match them up. So in college I'm applying to, in addition to seeing the schools that you added there from our previous process, if you haven't matched your account yet, well, most of you probably have not, you're going to see literally like a pink bar at the top of colleges I'm applying to. And it's going to say, looks like you're not able to apply to Common App schools. You need to match your account. And then when you match your accounts, it's going to prompt you to log back into your Common App with your username and password, and then it'll match up your account. What that assures is that you're going to send your Common App to the school separately. Remember, we're going to send your stuff separately. When it gets there, it all binds each other into a nice little electronic file. And that's a step that must happen. We actually can't send your stuff physically unless you're matched. We can't send your stuff if your lists don't match Common App and Naviance, and we can't send your things if your accounts aren't matched. It'll give us a message. So all of those little pieces have to happen. Tomorrow in our counselor meetings, we have a checklist of everything that you need to do before you request a transcript. And it's kind of like sign the FERPA waiver, match your account, so forth. So you're going to leave tomorrow with a checklist. That checklist will also be in Google Classroom. So you'll have that very handy, and it might make more sense. The more you hear this, it's going to sort of make more sense. When you do the process yourself, you're going to sort of get the steps. And again, we're always here. We're always here to help you and work with you. Teacher recommendations. So this is another thing that was turned off up until today. So many students asked about that. I can't request my teacher. That's correct, because we had it turned off. So we wanted to make sure everybody did it correctly. A lot of formally request them so that they're brought in.
Mrs. Walsh, you're muted.
You're muted, Mrs. Walsh.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I just shut down for a minute. Okay, I made a couple people co-hosts. I said, joked, in case I go down, your co-hosts. I actually went down, but I'm back. Sorry.
Here we are. Okay.
That was weird. It like went away. I had a little panic for a minute. Okay, let me catch my breath for a second. Let's move on. Back to teacher recommendations. So I don't know how much you heard, but if you requested them in 11th grade and you did your input form, that's 2 of the 3 steps. Your teachers are not going to know where and when to send your recommendation until you do this last step. And this last step is—
Mrs. Walsh, can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Yes.
Would you mind sharing your screen? I think it went down.
Oh, that went down too. Okay, sorry about that.
No problem.
Let me see. Geez, that was crazy. That was my biggest nightmare.
Can you?
No, it's not. Hold on 1 second. Oh, shoot. Oh, let me do this. Let me see if sharing is not turned on. Why am I still a host? Hold on. I'm sorry, everybody. Oh, I'm not a host. Oh, no.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Let me, sorry. Let me call. I'm going to mute myself for a minute. No. Okay, I'm back, I think. Am I back? Okay, great. Sorry about that. That was my biggest nightmare about tonight, and we joked about it. Let me see something. And it actually happened. But now I'm stuck in my presentation. Oh, there we go. Okay. Let me go up. Okay, here's where we were. Sorry about that, everybody. Thanks for your patience. Good old technology testing my nerves. But here I am. I'm back. Letter of recommendations. We're still talking about this. So when you, in Naviance, you'll go to colleges and letters of recommendation. And again, we're going to show you this literally tomorrow. You'll choose the teacher that you're asking, and then from a drop-down list. So in this example, we chose Miss Ellen Glassband. And then underneath that will be the letter, those colleges that you just have put into colleges I'm applying to. And you would select whichever schools you want Miss Glassband or whoever your teacher is to write for. And when you do that, and at the end you would say submit request, then like us, Miss Glassband would get a notification that Brooke Parrott is now, she's applying to colleges, and she also needs you to write a recommendation. So then Miss Glassband's sort of time frame starts, and she has 3 weeks to write that recommendation and get it there before the deadline as well. So remember, you're doing all this, managers, student managers of your own process. You're telling your counselor by requesting a transcript. You're telling your teacher. Then you're like, okay, those people are working. That's great. Now I can work, and I'm going to keep working because I know Miss Walsh and I know Miss Glassband are working hard also. And everybody knows that my stuff has to get to the colleges at a certain time because we know what your deadlines are, because they show up here and then they show up where when I get my sorry, I got distracted here. When I get my transcript request, I know exactly where you're applying and what your deadlines are. So that's kind of how the recommendation works. So teachers have come down and said, so-and-so said they requested me, but I don't see it. And I said they didn't request you because they couldn't request you. It was literally the feature. I purposefully turned it off until we could explain it. So you have not requested them unless you have done this piece of the procedure. Okay. All right, moving along here. Self-reporting schools. So there are some schools that are considered what they call self-reporting. It's gotten more popular in some of the larger state universities and so forth in the last several years. Rutgers University is a self-reporting school. So they use a self-report of academic record, often referred to as the SRAR. The SRAR is Rutgers uses that, but also Pitt uses it. There's other schools that use this particular almost common app of self-reported academic record. What you're going to do with that is you're going to get your transcript from Genesis, which you all have access to your unofficial transcript. And you're literally reporting your academic record. You're not sending a transcript right now. You're reporting yourself. You're starting freshman year. I had LA1, I had biology, and I got an A, and I got whatever. You're going to report all of your classes and all of your grades. And then they're going to, the self-reporting schools like Rutgers and so forth, other ones, are actually going to accept you or deny you based on your self-reported academic record. But of course, if you get in, they are going to request a final transcript. And then obviously they're going to compare it and make sure that what you reported is what actually happened and so forth. So for them, it just kind of, I think, speeds the process a little bit. It doesn't speed your process at all. It actually slows your process down because it's a little cumbersome. But you'll do that when you hear SRAR or self-reporting. We actually don't send a transcript to Rutgers initially. We know that you send your self-reported academic record. Sometimes they're going to ask for what they call your New Jersey Smart ID. Every student in New Jersey has one. And it's in your Naviance account profile. It's also in your Genesis. So we can show you tomorrow when we actually have the screens up and stuff, what your Smart ID is, where you can find it. Okay. Deadlines matter a lot. Okay, so remember we talked about the 3-week thing. So we must have your request 3 weeks ahead of your deadline. And the timeline doesn't start counting until we have your full packet. So if somebody requests, let's go back to Brooke Parrott. Now she's not as organized as she used to be. She requests a transcript tomorrow. And I say, oh, Brooke requested a transcript. Wait, I haven't received her resume or her student input form. So guess what, Brooke? 3 weeks doesn't start yet. I reach out to you. I send you an email because now you're watching your emails regularly. We can't possibly chase everybody down in the school when you're in your classes and so forth all the time. So we will be communicating email, and I'm going to send Brooke an email and be like, hey, Brooke, thanks for requesting your transcript, but I can't really do anything because you have not yet turned in your student info form or your resume. I need that stuff as soon as possible if you want me to start on your recommendation letters and so forth. And so she needs to see that email, get her act together, bring it in, and then then my timeline will start. If she decides not to read her email and a week or 2 weeks go by, and then I say, Brooke, did you see my email? She's like, no. Well, it's because you didn't look. But so please look at your emails and make sure we have what we need so that when you request a transcript, we can get started on it. And again, many of you will probably over the next few days and maybe even tomorrow be made aware of what pieces of that packet you may be missing. Okay. So if you notice this little table over here, so the college deadline is November 1st. Your transcript request is due by October 11th. Now that freaks people out sometimes because they're like, why do I have to have my stuff finished by October 11th if my deadline is until November 1st? Remember, you don't have to have your things done by October 11th. You have to get me working by October 11th. You have to get your teachers working by October 11th. And we're all working towards the November 1st deadline. So you can't, again, come in on October 30th and say, Miss Walsh, I got everything done. I finally pressed submit. Can you get my stuff there by tomorrow? No. Okay, you request us, you request your teacher, we're all working, you feel good about it, your people are working, and you'll be able to monitor what was submitted, what was completed in Naviance. It'll tell you if something was processed or whatever. But remember, we get a lot of requests, and some certain teachers especially get tons of recommendation requests while they're teaching all day and they're doing letters at night. It takes time, so don't panic. Everything will be there by the deadline. Don't ask your teacher every other day whether they're working on it or not. They're working on it. If it gets a little close and you're concerned, we can send an email, but have faith in the process as long as you request on time. So the deadlines that we have in the left column are just some of the more popular deadlines. November 1st is a really popular deadline, November 15th, November 30th, and so forth. Notice that anything due January 1st and January 15th, the request is due to us by December 1st. And I know that's more than 3 weeks before January 15th, but obviously we have a long break in there, the winter holiday. And so we need to have everything by December 1st so we can get everything completed and sent before we go on our especially long winter break this season. Okay. So that timeline is really important and handy to have. Okay. The FAFSA, I casually mentioned it in the beginning, that it's going to be a graduation requirement. You'll hear more information about that. You shouldn't look at that as a negative. It's more like everyone should do the FAFSA to see what kind of aid or scholarship they might be eligible for. It has a December 1st release. As soon as it's released, you should complete it and submit it. Your schools will have FAFSA deadlines, financial aid deadlines. And so you need to also follow what you have to see what their deadlines are and make sure you submit your FAFSA form prior to the deadline. Some of you may see another financial aid form called the CSS profile. There are some private schools, not all, but some private schools that require the CSS profile, which is another financial aid form. And they will make that clear that that's a requirement and what the deadline is. So it's important to, in addition to following your application deadlines, this is a kind of a parent thing. So if parents want to get involved in any way, this would be a good place to get involved in, is the FAFSA and the CSS profile, and understanding those deadlines and gathering whatever documents you need and so forth. Okay, so as promised, tomorrow we are going to follow up this meeting with a much smaller and in-person meeting with all of our students. They'll meet just with their counselor, and we're going to answer any questions. We have a lot to cover. We're not going to say who has questions from last night because maybe not everybody's here tonight. So we actually have some specific things to go over. We're going to bring up Naviance and actually walk you through some of these steps literally, so you can see it and so forth. So we have a lot to go over tomorrow in that 40-minute lunch period. And that's why we ask that you come on time, you bring your lunch, so you're not spending 20 minutes just waiting to get lunch and then walking in. It won't be that effective if you do that. And here are the locations where the counselors will be tomorrow for their lunch meetings. Bring a Chromebook and bring your lunch. Most of you know by now to contact us. Use our Google appointment calendar. You can come in during lunch. If we're available, we can't always be available. Sometimes, like tomorrow, we're not available during lunch for anybody except for you guys. And different things happen during lunch. And also we can't see 30 kids during the lunch period. So it's always best to make an appointment, but know that we don't eat lunch the same time as the students. And we are in our offices, just can't guarantee that we don't have other students or something. So, just know that that's a spot. And then there's a document that you'll have a link to right here, High School South College process answers. And a lot of what we went over tonight is going to be in there in different categories and so forth. So a lot of, kind of, again, some snip slides to show you the steps and so forth are all in that college process answers. So you have this document, you have tomorrow, you have your counselor at your ready, you have the college process answers. Feel supported. I hope you do feel the love, both parents and students, that we're here to help you and to make this process kind of as exciting as possible. Okay, so thank you. See your counselor earlier and often. You guys tested me today by shutting me down and making me scramble a little bit and try not to lose myself. So we did all right. Counselors, were there any general questions that needed to kind of be clarified at this point in time?
We've been answering the questions as they've been coming in, so we're up to date with everything.
Terrific. Okay. Then again, I want to thank you. Please encourage your child to come tomorrow to our meeting, because again, we're going to have a lot of really good information, and I think it put everybody at ease and get everybody started. We look forward to working with you through this. Parents, this presentation is not only going to be on the district website and in Google Classroom, but we've been recorded, including my little panic moment was all recorded, I guess. And the recording is going to be on the West Windsor YouTube channel sometime next week. If you actually want to listen to it all over again, you can certainly do that, or this presentation will be posted as well. The documents that we're giving out tomorrow during our meeting will also be posted in Classroom. Okay. Anything else? We're good, counselors? I appreciate my counselors coming tonight. This is just kind of like a little extra night. They're here to support you and to support me and to help get some of these questions answered. So we have the best team here. You're in very good hands. So have a great night, everybody. And we look forward to working with you through this exciting process. Bye-bye. How do I end?